It's your weekly dose of feeling good. 2NURFM's Health Naturally with Denis Stewart for our sponsor, New Lambton Herbal Medicine Centre.
It is time for Health Naturally. As we say, it's lovely to have you back, Denis Stewart.
Thank you, Jane.
And we do want to know just why you're blaming your bees.
Dear. Well, Jane, you and listeners would know that I have frequently extolled the virtues of beekeeping, and I have been a beekeeper, as my daughter will say momentarily, for the bulk of my life. What I did not realise, of course, is that as one gets older, the ability to lift beehives becomes a little bit more compromising. And so I sustained what is medically known as a bulging disc as a result of trying to lift 25 kilos of honey from a 3-decker hive onto the ground, something that one shouldn't do at this rather advanced stage of my life. So my absence was simply brought about as a result of my being immobilised virtually by my bees and their stocking so much honey in my hives and my wanting to rob them, which I did very successfly, but in so doing robbed my health. So the reason is, as a beekeeper, I sustained a common ailment that most beekeepers experience in their career, that is part of their bony structure begins to give way. So I say to all beekeepers out there to take heed of what I have said. When you are lifting your beehives about, particularly when you're lifting from a height, a 3-decker for instance, lift wisely, lift cautiously, and lift properly. Otherwise you too will become a victim, a war victim, a wounded victim to the profession of beekeeping.
Now, you've brought your daughter Rachel along.
I have indeed, my delightful daughter.
She is a beekeeper, so do you follow that advice, Rachel?
Definitely follow that advice. My husband does most of the heavy lifting though, luckily, so I don't get into the really heavy stuff.
That sounds like a very good idea. Now, perhaps Rachel might tell us a little bit about beekeeping.
Of course.
Well, how I got into bees maybe might be interesting. As a little girl, Dad was into beekeeping back then, and I used to help him make up the new frames to go into the hives and also extract it and, of course, have a taste of it. So it was a great thing for me to enjoy. Yes, that's right. And growing up with that, I loved it. I loved the smell of it and the smoke, the way that you smelled after you worked with the bees. And then we went to a local springtime festival about 8 years ago, saw a display, convinced my husband to get some bees, which he reluctantly did agree to. And then we found a whole lot of Dad's old equipment in a shipping container, cleaned it up, and what was started out as a hobby is now our main source of income.
Oh, so there you go, from beginnings, and I noticed you had tasting in there as well. Sounds good. So bees like, of course, being out amongst the flowers and the trees, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We've got a beautiful area that the bees really thrive in the Hunter Valley. I'm on the Central Coast, the same on the Central Coast as well.
There's plenty of good flowering gum trees and other flowers too. What do they like mostly?
Well, the most prolific source of nectar is the eucalypts. So if there's blossoming eucalypts in the area, that is where they will go to. However, we do have a lot of exotics that are come from different areas that people plant in their yards, which also produce some delicious honey.
Let my dear Rachel give just 4 recommendations for people that might want to get into beekeeping. Be quick, Rach.
All right, well, in a quick sum up of that, then I'd recommend to do a course or work with a beekeeper. You could join your local apiarists association. Always wear protective gear, that's very important. Respect the bees and don't become too negligent in working with them. You don't want to have too much confidence around them. And then read as much as you possibly can about beekeeping and bees, and there's so much to find available.